Welcome to the terraces at San Joaquin Gardens. We're glad to have you all here as we celebrate and honor the Kremen Scholarship Award recipients for this year. So welcome to all of the residents here at the terraces, as well as our friends from Fresno State, both students and faculty. We are so blessed and thankful to have all of you here. How's the food? Yeah, well, thank you to our friends at Fresno State for Gibson Market for the lovely donations. And ice cream is never turned away from here at the garden. So we thank you for all your generosity. It does make the day that much more special. So we have a lot of folks on the agenda today to share a little bit about the Kremen Scholarship in Fresno State. But first, to kick it off, we wanted to invite Bud and Jan. Bud Richter is going to come up and speak on their behalf to talk about the value of education, but also, most importantly, the value of the partnership between the terraces at San Joaquin Gardens and Fresno State. And if I may, for just a moment, acknowledge Fresno State is a pinnacle in this community for so many reasons. They are a beacon to the students, to the faculty, to the alumni, but they really are a cultural hub for this community, and they have done so much for the terraces. And right now, more than ever, the college is in our hearts and prayers as they go through such a difficult time. And we know and we value this partnership, because I continue every single time I am with a team member from Fresno State, I continue to marvel at the stewardship and the passion and the love that they have for that university. And I know that one person doesn't define it, and it is very disturbing to see your stellar reputation tarnished at this time. So for all of you team members of Fresno State, know that this entire community is rallying behind you, and that we stand with Fresno State, and that we know one individual doesn't define the culture that you've worked so hard to create. So on behalf of everyone here at the terrace at San Joaquin Gardens, know that we lift you up during this time, and that this is a blip and it'll pass, and that your legacy is much stronger and much larger than this one moment in time. So God bless you all right now. Ladies and gentlemen, Bud Richter. Hello?
Can we put this up here?
You want me to for you?
Yeah. It's something when she's got to put it down, huh?
You got it?
Okay.
Okay.
Can you hear me all right? Yeah. I just come from a session, it was actually a memorial service, and we couldn't hear everything, so it's important that we do hear what the speaker wants to say, especially when you hear from Paul Berry and Bob Bunke and these special scholarship winners. I was quite surprised when Michelle and Jessica asked me to say a few words about our relationship here at the terraces with Fresno State. I thought at my age, I don't prepare a talk anymore. You don't get facts, you don't get numbers, you don't get all that stuff. You just go ahead and talk from memory. So I hope you'll accept that today. And if you see some errors along the way, you'll just say, well, he did the best he could. In the mid-'80s, I was asked to be chairman for a fund drive for the Kremen, for the School of Education. And Dr. Bob Bunke, who you're probably going to hear from a little bit later, was the cause of that. And when the building was approved by the state of California to be built, it was quite something. And Ken Maddie, I think, was one of our assemblymen that really helped make that happen. And they got what was the total bid, Bob? $20 million. And in that $20 million bid, it was for our project, the President Welty and the dean said, you know, we got to have somebody from our School of Education oversee this building to make sure that it meets the needs of our professors and our students. And they wisely chose Dr. Bob Bunke to do that. And it wasn't very long into the process that Dr. Monkey saw that there was no funding for infrastructure, for computers and technology in the way of internet and all those things. And so he proposed and took $500,000 out of that $20 million and said it was set for furniture and carpeting and boards and different kinds of room supplies, and said we're going to go ahead and put the infrastructure in that we are going to absolutely need in the future. And it was a very wise decision. And so when it came time to asking me to be the campaign chairman, was to raise the $500,000 that Bob had spent in infrastructure that we had needed now for furniture and computers and those other things. And it was a great privilege. And it went well. And it was during that campaign that I met Marion Kremen. How many of you have met Marion Kremen in person? Boy, not very, less than 10. And it's understandable, but during the campaign to raise the funds, Bob Monkey and his wife had done a good amount of work with Mrs. Kremen. Mrs. Kremen's husband was the dean of the School of Education for a number of years, and his major was counseling. And Bob Monkey was related well with them, and he related well with Marion. And so when it came time to start asking for funds, Bob and I and others met with Marion, and she was very receptive. And so that's when Jan and I got to meet Marion, and we came here at the Terraces when she was living here. And she was a great lady. I don't know how many of you know, but she used to get up, I think it was 4 o'clock in the morning, to work in the stock market. And she would buy and sell very wisely, and she was a very intelligent lady, and she loved Fresno State. And so that's how our relationship started and how she got involved a little bit with us. I would just like to tell one other story about the school. When they asked me to be campaign chair and raise this money, I said that I won't do it unless I'm going to have some help. And we had a committee of representing the various phases, parts, staff, administration, and faculty. And I'd done some research, and we found out that there was I think 1 or 2 people in the faculty were giving money to their own school to help in scholarship and foundation funding. And that was not unlike a lot of the other schools here in Fresno and throughout the CSU system. And so in doing some research, we found out that there were several schools in the country that had a good number of their tenure-track faculty helping support financially their foundations for scholarship and improving the facilities there. And the way they did that was by having a peer ask a peer for money. And so it meant that an administrator was on our committee, and they would ask the fellow administrators in the school. Staff member would ask staff, and faculty would ask faculty. And that morning when we got there, we had this knowledge of what was going on in the research. We had faculty, staff, and administrators all volunteer to do that. And the result was that this School of Education set a state record, as far as I know. I don't know if it's ever been built. It was 92.5% of the tenure track faculty made contributions to the School of Education, and it's still continuing, I believe, in many ways. There's a great amount of good things happening at Kremen. It's wonderful that we can go ahead and associate our terraces with them. And it's such a good thing to see all of you here to honor some very special people. You're going to hear them talk, and you're going to say, wow, Marion Kremen enabled us to be a part of all this, and how grateful we are to her. So thank you, Lord, for Marion Kremen. Thank you.
Thank you, Bud. As he said, Marion Kremen was very special both to San Joaquin Gardens and to Fresno State. And I met with her many times as executive director over my time here, and she was very committed to the education of others and to ensure that her legacy was one of growing future leadership within this realm. So we're excited. Every year I look forward to this event so we can see the future bright stars and what they're going to do to make the world a better place. So I'm excited to hear from them as well. But first, I'd like to introduce Dr. Paul Beer, Dean of Kremen School of Education and Human Development. Dr. Paul Beer will be retiring later this year after 15 years of service as Dean of the Kremen School of Education and Human Development. He is the longest-standing dean in teacher education in the CSU system. A few of the awards, just a few, because they said if I listed them all, we'd be here till tomorrow. So in light of time, a few of the awards he's received. In 2013, the Kremen School received the Best Practice Award for Professional Ethics and Moral Disposition in Teacher Education from AACTE. In 2014, the Kremen School received the Krista McAuliffe Award from AASCU for Excellence in Teacher Education. And in 2017, Dean Bear received the Renaissance Group Lifetime Achievement Award for contributions to educator preparation. During Dean Bear's tenure, the Kremen School produced 347 doctorates, 5,286 masters, 7,224 teaching credentials, and 6,210 liberal arts degrees. Ladies and gentlemen, the man behind all of this, Dr. Paul Beer.
It was very interesting hearing Bud describe Bob's efforts at the beginning of the building, which was up before I ever came. But have you know, Bob still does that. Bob retired actually the year I started, but he's in the building almost every day, working, raising money through our BRICS committee, bringing in lemons and oranges for the faculty and staff to eat. He's just an amazing, amazing guy. And of course, we're still raising money for infrastructure. The money Bob raises goes to technology, our technology infrastructure. This year, though, we spent $690,000 on the infrastructure. Part of that came from Bob's committee. Part of it came from unused grant money, and a big chunk of it came from Dr. Nan Barker, who was at the, oh, there she is. She moved over there. She has an online teacher credential program that produces a lot of money, and we couldn't have done any of that without Bob and without Nan, so thank you very much. 15 years at Fresno State as dean, but 39 years in higher education, which is certainly long enough. And one thing that I've really appreciated, besides the phenomenal faculty that we have at Fresno State who are totally committed to our students, is the willingness of this community to give scholarships to our students. It's not something you brag about, but our students come from basically the most economically deprived place in the United States. We have the lowest median family income of anywhere in the country. We also have in our community the lowest college graduation rate of any standard metropolitan statistical area. And so higher ed takes a lot of money. And the way that our students, besides working nonstop, day and night, everybody has jobs, 2 or 3 jobs, it really helps them when we get scholarships. And in all my years, there's never been a more generous scholarship than the Benjamin and Marion Kremen Scholarship. It actually gives enough money that students can not only pay their tuition and books, but they actually can eat sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. But it's not just Marion Kremen. Last week, we got $1 million gift for credential candidate scholarships from a former principal here in Fresno. Mike and Sally Robinson have just made a large commitment to counseling scholarships, which we really appreciate. The reason I love our students at Fresno State is because almost every one of them did have some challenges coming here, financial challenges. Yet they come to Fresno State, and we've done research on this. It doesn't matter if their parents, for example, 21% of our teacher graduates, their parents never attended high school. Not didn't graduate from high school, never attended high school. We've done research on their performance as teachers and professionals, and it's absolutely as good as the kids who come from families where the parents have graduate degrees and high income. And all of those students, when you talk to them, why do you want to be a teacher? Why do you want to be a counselor? I want to give others the chance to succeed as I have. And it makes you love them, and it makes everything we do worthwhile. And it's nice that the Kremen Scholarship can help you all reach that end without hopefully devastating yourselves financially and having whatever the national average is of, tens of thousands of dollars in loans that they have to pay back. So, I think this is the best crowd. We've been doing this for, I don't know how many years, 4 years, and this is by far the best crowd. I appreciate all of you. Some of our community council folks are here. Marcia, I heard you were coming. Anyway, I really appreciate it. Thank you all for being here.
No, thank you. It gives me the chance to correct. Michelle had told me 5 times, make sure to say his name, Dr. Paul Berry. And so I promptly did not do that. And the only thing I can do is acknowledge the fact that I didn't complete my degree at Fresno State. Thus, that's probably why I can't say people's names correctly. Had I continued my education at Fresno State, that would have never happened. So my apologies, Dr. Paul Berry. And I did get slapped on the hand a couple times in the back, if that makes you feel better. Dr. Robert Monkey, I didn't get the pronunciation, so I'm hoping that's okay. All right, thank you. Is here, and he's been with us every year that we've done this. He knows Marion Kremen so very well, as he does Bud and so many others. And really why we wanted him to be with us every year was to share with the recipients who the Kremens were, what their legacy is, so that you could understand a little bit about the benefactors that have been so generous to all of you. So Dr. Monkey, if you wouldn't mind coming forward and sharing a little bit about the Kremens and your history with them.
Well, thank you. That indeed was a hard act to follow from Bud and Paul. It's a hard one to do. But it's nice to be here. Congratulations to some very fine scholarship recipients. I'm sure you'll make great elementary counselors, and it's just good to see the crowd too. This is the largest crowd we've had, absolutely, and appreciate all your interest and support for being here. I'll just say a few words about Ben and Marion. I knew them. I got my degree, my doctorate at Arizona State, and then we started looking around for possible job places, and I saw Fresno, and I requested to see if I could come and visit. They said, sure, come on over. And so at those times, you could almost get a contract the same day you came in if they liked you. I mean, it was a whole different ballgame than it is now. But anyway, at that time, Ben was the coordinator of the counseling program, and he came here in 1950. And that's when they were still back at City College, I believe. I came after that. But anyway, he was a coordinator, and he was a pioneer in counseling, and particularly in school counseling, because that's what counseling was all about at that time. Later on, we became much more diverse. Now we have a large program in marriage and family counseling, in college counseling, and everything else. But anyway, Ben was a real scholar. He got his degree from Michigan State, and he's very proud of that. He taught theory and techniques, and he was just a neat guy. He was a real professional. He was active in both state and national organizations. He had a great sense of humor, very subtle humor, which I really liked. And he was a good golfer. He wouldn't hit the ball very far, but it was always right down the middle until we got with him a few times and got him a little riled, and then he would shank one once in a while, and we'd laugh about it, but it was fun. Anyway, he retired in 1976, so he taught here 26 years. And at that time, I taught counseling and methods classes, later became a department chair for 5 years, and eventually was appointed by Homer Johnson to be an assistant dean, and then later an associate dean. But one of the jobs, and Bud talked to this quite a bit, was to sort of shepherd through the process of getting a new building. And we had to come up with rationale and a rationale for every room, and it just took forever to get it done. But like Bud said, Ken Matty's the one that sealed the deal, because nothing is ever real until you get your funding. But it took 9 years to do it. Nowadays, they build buildings a lot faster, but that's what it was like then. And Ben retired, as I said, in 1976, but he stayed interested. He always would come back and want to know how things were going. He was very interested in the building, and so periodically we'd break out the plans and he'd look them over, and was particularly interested in what was happening in school counseling. Sorry about that. And we'd sit down and talk about that. And one day I took both he and Marion over to the building when it still wasn't open, so we had a sneak preview, and they loved that. But he stayed very tuned into what was happening at Fresno State. In 1995, he came into my office one day and said, "I got something important to share with you." And, "Well, what's that?" He said, "Well, my doctor tells me that I have cancer, and I am expected about 6 more months of life before I pass over." And of course, that was a shocker, but I stayed with him and watched him go down very rapidly, and visited him many times, and he passed away in 5 months from that date that he told me, so it was for real. And anyway, I stayed with Marion and Bud through that ordeal, and stayed with Marion after that for quite some time. And eventually, we were talking one day, and she has some property up in Yosemite National Park, some little island up there, and it's just got property. And I said, "Would you like to go up there and see that?" She said, "You bet I would." So we drove up and visited Yosemite National Park and visited her property. And then I asked her, "Well, would you like to see Kings Canyon and Sequoia?" "You bet I would." So she was reliving some things by doing that, and it was just nice. And she loved the foothills and loved to see the crops in the mountains, and it was a nice reunion for her. But it was, what else could I say? Anyway, well, I got it. I took her to many events at the university, and John Welty would invite us to football games, which is a pretty nice deal, sitting up in the box and watching the game, but she loved that. And we went to fundraising things and different School of Ed functions. We did that for a number of years. And somewhere along the way, she said, I decided to give a good portion of my state to the Kremen School of Education, or the School of Education, not the Kremen School, but it became the Kremen School. But anyway, she did that, and after some negotiations, and the focus got down to scholarships for elementary counselors, because that's what Ben started with. And so she was, as Bud said, very interested in stocks and property and buying and selling stocks. And she lived to the age, I think, of 102, grand old age of 102, and passed away in 2012. But because of her and that great bequest, some students will really benefit from all of this. So congratulations again to you, and wish you the best, and you all have a good day. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Dr. Monkey. Up next, I'd like to invite Dr. Song Lee. She's the Associate Professor and Department Chair of Counselor Education and Rehabilitation, and she's going to talk a little bit about the recipients and introduce our speakers. Is she here? There you are. Okay. You can take it off.
All right, I'm a little bit short if you haven't recognized that. I don't have a good memory like Dr. Richter and Dr. Monkey, so I'm going to have my notes with me. But if I don't do well, like what Dr. Richter said, I'll just try the best, okay?
Good afternoon. I am so happy to see all of you here to support our students and to recognize the contributions of Dr. Benjamin Kremen and Mary Kremen. I just really want to share with you the process that we had to go through to select our top winners. Dr. Benjamin and Mary Kremen wanted to recognize students of a 4.0 GPA who aspires to become a school counselor. We have over 30 applicants this year. So every year we have the difficult decisions to make, and Dr. Valencia is also a professor at Fresno State. Dr. Kitima Sharma, I don't think she's here. We looked at the applications, we read their statements of purpose, and then from there we selected the top to be interviewed face-to-face. And so we, after the interviews, then we selected our top winners, and we have 17 winners this year. What we looked for is not just somebody who wants to become a school counselor, because many people want to become a school counselor. What we looked for is somebody who not only have the passion, but the compassion to assist others, the compassion to work with the diverse community that we have in the Valley. We also look for those who we think will inspire and also be role models to our next generation of students. And so we have a great group of students today. And in a minute, I'm going to invite 3 of them to speak with you. But before I do that, I just wanted to say that Dr. Richter, Dr. Monkey, it's such a great privilege to be here with you. We are continuing the work that all of you have started, and it's such a great program, the School Counseling Master's Program. We also have the College Counseling, Student Affairs Counseling, and we have the Marriage, Family, and Child Counseling. We also have the Clinical Rehabilitation and Mental Health Counseling. And so it is because of the work that you guys have put into the programs that we are where we are today, so appreciate it. So, next to the top 3 candidates that we selected to make the speech today, I mean, all of them are great, all of you that are here, you're great, okay? But we feel like these 3 top really put their time into their statement of purpose. I mean, we read the statement of purpose and we were really inspired. So I'm hoping that they would also inspire you and share with you the dreams that they have to fulfill their dream, but also to fulfill the dreams of our next generations of students. So before I introduce the students, I also want to introduce the faculty, because it's rare to have families of our students to meet our faculty. I think we only have one here. Dr. Albert Valencia, if you can stand up to be recognized. Thank you. So
So in this order, if I could have you guys come up to make your speech, if I can have Sierra, are you here today? If I can have Sierra first, Jesse next, and then Sergio. You'll be the last. All right. Thank you.
So I also brought my notes because I am a note taker. But I'm going to see if I can figure out how to work this thing. More or less. May just hold it. May just hold it. Okay. So hi to everyone here today. My name is Sierra Linodakis, and it is an honor to be in your presence as we all celebrate together. I, as well as fellow scholarship recipients, I'm sure, cannot even begin to describe how thankful we are to be here, as well as for the generosity we have received from the Kremen family as we pursue our school counseling masters. The journey to where we are now was, if anything like mine, not necessarily an easy or straightforward path. As I reflect on my journey to this point, I am not only thankful for the support I received along the way, but as well for the obstacles that have strengthened me and prepared me for where I am now in my journey. Growing up in the Central Valley, I feel we learned quickly how to be innovative in order to succeed. While my school didn't have the technology implementation that was occurring in other areas, we didn't really have Kahoot or Quizlet in that sense, but we did have flashcards and storytelling to come up with how we'd remember our information. We didn't have a lot of AP courses, but we took as many as we could, and we got involved in as many clubs as possible to prepare ourselves for the next steps in our careers. It wasn't until I began my undergraduate journey and started talking with people from different regions that I realized just how different the experience is growing up in the Central Valley and learning to make the best out of what we have. Additionally, I feel that navigating college as a first-generation college student brought its own challenges, as it came with many moments of insecurities and doubts for myself, repeatedly asking the question, can I really do this? It wasn't until halfway into my time in my undergraduate career that I was able to do an internship that gave me clarity as to what I wanted to do in my career. During my time as a high school counselor intern, I realized I had a heart for working alongside at-risk youth and developing individualized intervention plans to help them graduate from high school and embark on exciting, unique futures. I was waiting for the day that this internship would become routine, that I'd wake up, hit the snooze button, and plead for just 5 more minutes. But this never happened. After months of going to that internship, coming in early and leaving late, I knew that school counseling was a career that was near and dear to my heart and where I needed to go. So the rest of my time in college was, of course, spent looking into graduate programs where I could pursue this dream. And that's what led me to where I am now, as I near the end of my second semester at the Fresno State program, getting closer and closer to that goal. As I mentioned earlier, and as has been discussed earlier as well, in the Central Valley, our students, there's just this lack of resources that we're facing as we're going through the public educational system. And I think for that reason, when I get my master's in school counseling and the PPS credential, I intend to spend part of my career giving back to the community that gave so much to me. I'm excited to meet the students who were like me, eager to do whatever it takes to get to college, but also the students who are on the margins, the students for whom English may not be their native language, or those who have more classes they need to retake than they've passed. I want to meet with these students who have been told that it's too late for them, or college is too expensive, and to knock down these barriers so that they can dream of things they were told would be impossible. It is with much gratitude that I can say I'm much closer to this goal because of the generosity of the Kremen family. Balancing a job, a full-time graduate student course load, while paying tuition and making the month-to-month bills can be a little bit stressful at times. But thanks to this scholarship, my colleagues and I are met where we are at, and we're given the privilege to push further into our studies, to ask deeper questions, and to dream bigger for the sake of our students. As I see the faces of fellow scholarship recipients, many of whom I'm thankful to call my friends from the time I've spent in the program. I'm so thankful to know we are in a program that will not rest until we emerge as counselors who are empathic, respectful, and genuine to those who we meet. A gift that will not only extend to those around us, but to every student we meet. Thank you so much. This is Jessie, dear colleague.
Well, hello. Thank you, Sierra, for the introduction. And I just want to say that, I really am humbled to be here. And first and foremost, welcome to my fellow Kremen scholars, Kremen Scholarship recipients, and representatives for this faculty, guests, all of you. Thank you for being here. I feel incredibly honored, as I said, and I want to share with how I came to this pivotal moment in my life. Really, it starts about 14 months ago. I had a blossoming business development career, but I was lacking fulfillment in nearly every aspect of life. So whether it was personal or professional, I always felt there was more to accomplish in this life than operational efficiencies or integrating developing technologies. And though the excitement of earning more for myself and the company that I was working for was undeniable, the stress inevitably followed due to the demands of living in Silicon Valley. The memory of my undergraduate studies in psychology and service learning, a program designed to engage with students in a meaningful way through education, connectivity, and support, seemed like a distant memory. There were countless times before arriving in this program that I was uncertain of what my calling even was. Even as far back as community college, I enrolled in classes that I thought were cool or fun. Well, in simple terms, I was the guy who thought that theories of personality was a cool class. But I digress. It wasn't until the day applications were due to transfer to my four-year university at Cal State Monterey Bay that I finally declared myself a psychology major. And at that point, I simultaneously had my business development career skyrocket. I was working and developing technologies that were to be used for years to be coming. And despite excelling in my job, I never felt there was actual meaning in what I was doing. So I took a leap of faith. I applied to the Fresno State School Counseling Program. But most importantly, this all changed on a day I was in a meeting far away from home when I decided to stop chasing stop chasing the money and start chasing the dream of helping others reach their highest potential. What I did not count on, though, was reaching my own highest potential in the process. And I will be forever grateful of asking myself on that decisive day, what is stopping you? This program has altered me at my core, gave me a new direction in life. My passion for being the support for individuals who seek assistance has been elevated to an uncanny level. I have discovered so much hidden potential in this field, and I vow to make this work my life's work. So now I can say with absolute certainty that it is a beautiful thing when a passion and a career come together. As a future school counselor, my career will be focused on directing my students to achieve their dreams, provide emotional and social support, but most importantly, advocating for those needs and seeking the resources they so desperately need. And as I look into this audience, I see such a great passion for future school counselors, and I encourage you to not let anything stop you. This scholarship, as so many have pointed out, have been brought to us by so many incredible people over time, and I can't think of a better way to honor their memory but to succeed and provide to my students and colleagues as much as they can possibly accomplish. But on many levels, as I mentioned, I feel incredibly honored to receive the support. This scholarship originally reinforces the question that I asked myself just 14 months ago, what is stopping you? My only conclusion now, the only thing stopping me is reading my own writing about 2 in the morning, the night before a paper is due, and reading countless articles that, frankly, sometimes I question myself, what am I doing this for? But my students will long thank me for doing all of this, and really my colleagues push me to become a better counselor, a better, more empathic one, and ultimately just a better individual. So now I ask you all today, what is stopping you from achieving that dream? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, So it is such a great honor to be here and being selected as one of the persons to speak for tonight. So I remember it was about 3 years ago when I had my mindset on continuing on my education after completing my bachelor's. During this time, I was weeks away from being the first in my family to graduate, yet I still had no job lined up. My wife also discovered that we were expecting our first child. I couldn't wait, but this completely reset my priorities. I knew I needed a job soon, but I wanted to continue my education and becoming a high school counselor. I knew these situations are not rare for a second-generation Latino, but how many continue despite these adversities? In this deep thought, I realized that I must count on my support system, my family. I was blessed to get a full-time job at the food bank 2 months after I graduated back in 2015. Along the way, I was hired as a health educator in Hanford and later on in Fresno. During these 3 years, it gave me the opportunity to provide for my family, as well as helping and supporting my wife to finish her undergrad at Fresno State. That's right, Bulldog born, Bulldog bred. Although I enjoy serving the community and help guide individuals to the right resources and services, my heart was still drawn to be a counselor to the students. Soon, with my wife en route to finish her undergrad, by the end of 2017, I began to feel more confident in my capability to balance work and go back to pursue my master's. The day I received my acceptance letter to the program, I felt a mix of emotions. I was ecstatic to be one step closer to my dream, but at the same time, I felt stressed. The greatest accomplishment brought the challenge of being able to afford going back. My wife, with no hesitation, said, "Yes, babe, go for it. We'll figure it out with money later." Now, me being the stereotypical dad that is always strict with money, instantly said, "Nope, too expensive." At this moment, I was one doubtful word away from giving up my dream and focusing 100% in providing for my family, because that is how I was raised. Luckily, I have a family that supports me 100% in pursuing my dream. My wife's support throughout everything has been everything for me. My mother is another person that plays a huge part in my education. My #1 fan who has motivated and supported me in every circumstances I have faced in life. To this day, she asks about my education and reminds me how hard she is and all the hard work that I have done. I know no matter what good or bad thing I go through, she will be there for me. I've been blessed with how things have fallen into place, and I thank God for every single moment. Despite being financially short in many circumstances, struggling to find childcare for my daughter, and having restless days as a working parent and full-time student, my family and I have remained resilient. I feel blessed to even be in the presence of these obstacles because I know they are only part of the great journey to my goals and aspirations. Now, after I graduate from Fresno State, I'm confident that we'll have specialized in the right knowledge, attitude, and skills necessary to help students guide them toward their dream. As I currently work with elementary students in low-income neighborhoods, I notice the negative effects that poverty brings into their social and psychological development. My plan is to become a counselor to work with underrepresented students and help guide their decisions to the right career paths. My goal is to become as effective as my school counselors were to me. I hope to continue my education in pursuing my PhD and one day work for the school district. To the family members of Dr. Benjamin and Marion Kremen, and all the donors who helped put this scholarship together, thank you. This scholarship means a lot, and it will continue to motivate me until I'm finished with my degree. I can also continue providing for my family while focusing more on school. Thank you for your investment in my dream. This scholarship is not just going for my family and I, but to the countless students I plan to impact the time I'm a counselor. I would like to finish by saying congratulations to everyone in this room. We are all on our own journey, writing our own stories, and facing our own struggles. Nelson Mandela once said, "It always seems impossible until it's done." Let's remember that nothing lasts forever, and there is a finish line waiting for us at the end. And whatever obstacle we have had or are going to go through, never forget that there is somebody out there rooting for us. Whether it's a small piece of advice, encouragement, or affirmation, we must hold on to them because they might be enough to push us into following our dreams. Now remember to show your appreciation to them and stay in touch with them. Because even when you feel your lowest, they still see you at your greatest. Love you, Sam. Love you, Celine. Love you, Mom. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give them all a round of applause. They all did such a great job. I'm marveling at his daughter staying quiet the whole time. Mine are outside causing terror. I'd like to invite some residents up, and they are going to shake the hands of all the award recipients and act as ambassadors for not only our residents here at San Joaquin Gardens, but most importantly, as Mr. and Mrs. Kremen would want to bestow their blessings upon each of you, these individuals will be acting in their stead today. So, may I invite my good friend and wonderful Harvey Zimmerman up. Earl and Beverly Knobloch, if you could come up. And these are all wonderful friends of Fresno State as well as residents here, and of course Bud Richter. If you wouldn't mind coming up and you can shake the hands of our recipients as I call them up. Friends and family, if you want to come up and take pictures because you are never too old to hang on somebody's refrigerator as they feel pride in you. So we're going to, and I'm going to do my best with these names. I've been practicing in the back and it hasn't gotten better. So my apologies in advance. Anita Gonzalez, if you could come and shake the hands of these wonderful folks. And go ahead and stay up here because we're going to be taking a group photo. All right. How do you think you say that last name? We're just going to say Carl. Carl Carasales. Dana Hill Clark. And Demi Castillo. James Carrillo, or Carrillo, either one. Jasmine Hickey. Jesse Betancourt. Catherine Bernal. Katie Gobseth. My Lord. Maria Cabrera. Maria Calvillo. Miriam Krista. Megan Tenney. Haku Tao. Sergio Perez. And Sierra Lion Ducock. There you go. You got it. Ladies and gentlemen, this represents your 2018 Kremen Scholarship Award recipients. So if we could gather together for a group photo, get our tall folks in the back, short folks in the front, you know who you are.
Yeah.
And you might have, some people might need to kneel, so ladies in dresses get excused from that experience. If we could just squeeze all in and take some group photos, family, friends, anybody wants to get up close to take some photos, you're welcome to.
Attention.
You can hashtag this full scholarship. All right, big smiles. All right, everybody say hashtag full scholarship. Hashtag full scholarship. All right, thank you everyone. Good looking group. Congratulations again from everyone here at the terraces at San Joaquin Gardens. Mr. and Mrs. Kremen would be proud.
Yeah, true.
All right, please enjoy some more food and beverages. You're welcome to stay. Not as long as you like, we will kick you out at some point, but we will give you an ample amount of time to enjoy one another's company. Thank you for coming out and being here with us today, and we look forward to many more years of celebrating the Kremens and the scholarship to come. God bless you all. Have a great day.
Congratulations. What a crowd. That's the best crowd we've had in 4 years. How about that? That's great.